Imagine taking the 5-cylinder engine out of the Volkswagen Passat, putting it in a Porsche 944, and putting a big turbo on it. This mass-produced 5-cylinder is only $300, and when you throw a big turbo on it, you can make 400 wheel horsepower. I'm always looking for the engines that are more accessible to the average Joe, and Boost Brothers Garage, who built this 944, has shown me the way once again. So my question is the naturally aspirated 5-cylinder one of the best budget engine swaps today? Let's talk about it. These crazy projects that I film always have a ton of hard work and also organization to make it happen. Working on a car can be absolutely messy, and that's why I want to thank Bolster for sponsoring today's video. It's the first tool tray company to focus directly on fastener retention and organization, and all of the products are based directly on customer feedback. And their blend of silicone has recently been approved for use by the United States Air Force, so it's really strong stuff. Rather than taking something like Ziploc bags and putting bolts in them and writing everything down, Bolster is the most efficient way to organize your tool set. So if you truly want to make your life easier while working on your car and stay organized and stop losing things, make sure to head over to Bolster and use my discount code TDIB for 20% off anything on Bolster's website. Link in the description below, and once again, huge thanks to Bolster for sponsoring today's video. Hello, David here, and welcome to a Porsche 944, but converted to a 968. The first time I ever drove the 944 was when I was a wee little lad, and it was the first ever Porsche I ever reviewed. It had the factory motor in it with the turbo on, and it turned off every single time that I stopped, which gave me a semi not great impression of the 944. However, I still hadn't gotten to the juicy stuff with Porsche quite yet, right? Well, after that, my friend who owned the car took it on a back road and flipped it like 6 times because he was young and dumb and at night trying to be cool. Fast forward about a decade later, here we are back in the 944. However, this one will throw you for a loop. This one has the 5-cylinder engine from the Passat wagon. And what's funny, the day I drove the Audi RS3, the 5-cylinder turbo RS3, our rolling shock car was the Passat wagon. And the owner of that car said, yeah, dude, this is basically a similar 5-cylinder to that one. And I was like, what do you mean? We're in a Passat. And he goes, no, if you turbo them, you can make decent power. This motor, 5-cylinder, naturally aspirated, $300. Completely unopened motor. Swapped into this with their own kit. They also have a YouTube channel called Boost Brothers Garage. And they also are responsible for building this kit. So if you're interested in it, go in the link in the description below. And they turbocharge it with a Garrett turbocharger, making 350 horsepower and 320 foot-pounds of torque. I love when people take engines that were never supposed to do this, and they just do, well, this. Woo! Woo! Man, this thing rips! Also, compared to the last 944 I drove, this one's a little bit better sorted, but the dash is incredible, the gauges work great. I love the shift light in your peripheral vision on the RPM. The tach is in the middle. It goes up like this and not like this. What I've been hunting for my YouTube channel are engine swaps that are affordable to the average Joe. Back in the day, I truly think that was the Honda, right? B-Series, GSR motors, stuff like that. That's not the case anymore. To get a B series is very expensive. To get a K series is now pretty expensive. Recently, I drove a Fox body with a Ford Escape EcoBoost motor with a big Garrett turbocharger on it, and it very much reminds me of the philosophy of this car. Now, do they drive the same? Absolutely not. But that car made over 400 horsepower on a motor that was $600. Not thousands of dollars. Today for an SR20, which was a swap into this, or an LS swap, you're paying a lot of money. You don't have to open it up and you can throw a turbo on it. It's hard to argue with. Also, you have all the space in the world in the engine bay of this thing. You also got a 5-speed transmission, a little bit of turbo lag, but once you get into power, my God, does it sound good. I'm a huge fan of 5-cylinders, and they're kind of knockoff Viper sound, or half of a Lamborghini sound, right? That exotic sound. And I think that these platforms are very much slept on. Woo! This thing is awesome! So you might be wondering why this footage looks a little different. It's much later in the day right now, but they were nice enough to go and turn this thing up for me. So now it makes 400 wheel. No big deal. Woo! That is awesome. You know what's interesting too is this thing doesn't feel too abnormal with this motor in it. It feels pretty organic. It doesn't feel like it's something that's super out of place. The weight distribution feels right. And I also think it's just from how low the motor sits, right? God, this thing is so fun to drive. With 400 wheel in this thing and a 5-speed transmission, this thing just reels out to the freaking moon, dude. All right, here we go. Woo! God, I love the sound of this thing. It's the best of everything. You got the scream of like an old school 80s Group B rally car, like the Audi Quattro, one of my favorite rally cars ever built, yet you're in a Porsche chassis with all the right things done to it. I think that's the major thing about this thing, man. It's so fun to downshift. It's so much fun to downshift and enjoy. Then you tell yourself that this is literally a commuter car engine for the most part that has 5 cylinders. You know, I've driven the Volvo V70R, I've driven the S60R. That 5-cylinder has a very Viperish sound to it as well, but this feels even more aggressive than that car does. And I think not enough people have many options anymore to try something new in different platforms, and I think this might be something to really look at. If you're looking at something to throw boost at on a budget, I think this is really fascinating. Woo! That is so awesome. That was a first gear roll on and a freaking dead hook, dude. Crazy. Smooth as glass. It's fast enough. The power band is predictable, but also very dramatic. What I'm really loving, like I mentioned earlier, I love that people are experimenting with engines that you might not think are the ones. You know, we all want the 2J, the RB, Coyote, LS, the performance engines we all use today. But maybe sometimes it's time just to look at the simpler things. Throw a turbo on it and discover something new. I don't think they could have chosen a better platform to put this in. So, Volkswagen Passat / Jetta / commuter car 5-cylinder engine with a big turbo on it and a Porsche 944 converted to a Porsche 968. What did I think of it? One of the most unique, well-sorted, kind of all-around builds I think I've driven in a long time. I've been dying to drive this chassis again with a different engine in it for a very long time. With the wide body, the big tires, really good brakes, great suspension. It is hard to go wrong with this. And I really think that these guys have found something special with the mix of all these platforms in one car. And on that note, I typically upload on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. And I will see you guys next time. Take it easy. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye. Yeah, it's amazing.
Sound good?
Sure does, dude. It's honestly just satisfying to drive around. Even if you're not like going balls to the wall, it's just really fun to come up to a stoplight, downshift, hear it sing, hear the turbo, come back on. Oh, I get to go first gear again? Great. You know, the fit and finish of this thing, you guys should be so proud. It is so good.